You may end up looking like a different person if you implement what is said in this video. And you're also going to be thinking in a completely different way and socializing with people differently. So get prepared for that. Now, it's important to understand that what you chewed on from a young age is linked to how physically attractive you are. But it's so much deeper than that. It also links to how well your brain functions, and it's a crucial part of health and how long you will live. Now, why is this? Jaw alignment, which is the base for how your entire facial structure grows. Now get prepared, because later in this video, you will see something shocking, a detailed view of what happens to a person's face depending on what food they have been chewing on throughout their life. Now here's the scary part. 90% of people in Western society, so that's 9 out of 10 of you watching this video, have at least some degree of jaw misalignment and facial collapse. Some people more than others. Yet so many people don't know about this due to various reasons, which I'll discuss later in this video. And honestly, the reasons are frightening and sickening. I myself had jaw misalignment, but I've taken steps to change my appearance, as you can see in these before and after photos, and it does relate to stronger gum and good tongue posture, but we'll get onto that soon. I'm also going to be showing you a video of a powerful person high up admitting to something that news outlets and society are trying to hide from you, and I'm about to take big personal risk in this video because of that. Now, how do you know if you have good jaw alignment? The most obvious sign is how attractive your face looks. Look at yourself in the mirror. How wide is your jaw? If you have a small jaw, it means you have jaw misalignment. Another sign is if your teeth are meeting to bite together correctly. Most people's don't, and most of the time it's unnoticeable, but others register it when looking at you subconsciously. Cross bites, overbites, underbites, facial asymmetry are also signs of jaw misalignment. The mind-blowing fact is that all human beings are meant to have attractive-looking faces genetically. And we know this when looking at the skulls of our ancestors. They had perfect facial structures and jaws, all of them. But all of a sudden, so many people nowadays have this issue more and more, an epidemic of unattractive faces and mental health disorders. This means that it is not genetics that is the cause of unattractive faces. It's our lifestyle. The problem is that foods at grocery stores are completely different to what food used to be like thousands or even hundreds of years ago. All foods have been engineered to be easier to eat, with abundant amounts of nutrition in each small bite you take. Even meat is softer nowadays because it's tenderized before being sold in stores. This is why most people's faces in modern day society are not developed properly, with the exception of the lucky few, the good-looking people. They've been flexing their jaw muscles from a young age. Now, the good news is that yes, you can improve facial structure even as an adult by chewing on stronger gum, which a lot of people, including myself, have done, combined with 2 other crucial steps, which I'll explain later. But it's important to know this is something people don't like talking about, and I'll explain why soon. Now, firstly, when chewing stronger gum, it's important to know exactly what is going on and what is happening. When the jaw muscles are introduced to the resistance, they will contract, pulling on your bone and expanding your face to a healthier width. The combination of your increased jaw muscle size and bone widening will cause your face to be wider, and it will also pull your face into a more forward and upward position. But there's two other crucial things you must do, which will be shown to you soon. Dr. Mike Mew, the leading doctor in facial orthotropics, talks about the importance of muscle pulling on bone.
I mean, Kiliadis does this research where he's just saying that, the more you chew, the wider the face gets, narrower facial structures because they're eating softer food. I mean, when you stop to look at the research behind this, it is everywhere, in every direction. This angle here. And what I watch is how the angle sort of does this in people who start to chew.
He also states that it is possible to get change in a short period of time.
And you then change permanently. I think that the changes would be massively rapid. And of course, wow, things are changing on this market. This is we were opening a new world here. We're opening a whole new avenue. I mean, this is an area of healthcare that is just going to expand and expand and expand. So what's happening is your whole face is swinging up a little bit, but clearly it's much harder to move the maxilla. But what's happening is the mandible is slowly swinging up and forward.
Something that has likely helped when chewing a stronger gum is that it contains necessary vitamins for bone remodeling and muscle development that get absorbed directly through the facial tissue instead of going through the digestive tract where it gets broken down by stomach acids. But there's something that can damage you that you must be aware about that you should not do. And that is chewing on facial toys. They have unnatural type of resistance and movement, and it can also target some of the incorrect muscle tissue, so you should be aware to stay away from those. If you have been chewing regular soft foods from your grocery store your whole life, it likely caused the collapse of your entire facial structure. Jaw muscles hold the facial structure in the correct position, and weak jaw muscles allow it to collapse. And shockingly, nobody talks about this, even though 90% of people in Western society suffer from this. Something is up. And it's not just facial appearance that suffers from this. Arguably, something much more important is at risk. Facial collapse puts pressure on the trigeminal nervous system, which are 3 key nerves that run through your face. Now, why is this dangerous? It's because it causes elevated substance P levels, which according to studies link to having fewer red blood cells, lower cognitive function, weaker bones, and breathing in less oxygen due to mouth breathing when you're not keeping your mouth closed during sleep or resting when you're not speaking. Now, what I'm about to show you is something that news outlets and media do not want you to see. Shortly after CBS News released this video, they took it off their channel because someone told them to. There's a general trend where big media doesn't want self-improvement advice getting out there. Here, the head of the American Dental Association admits that growing the jaw muscles is just like growing any other muscle in the body.
Well, you have to consider, the muscles of the face would be just like the muscles going to the gym. Anytime you go to the gym, you would start slowly and build yourself up. And obviously,
when I've been interviewed by outlets like the New York Times, myself, I've given the reporters scientific studies stating facts, and they've ignored it completely in order to push their own agenda of what they want you to think. People will try and tell you that chewing causes overactive jaw muscles or grinding, but when in fact, why do you think the cause of overactive jaw muscles is? It's because you don't use them enough. But it's important to understand the facial structure. The jaw muscles are intricately linked to all muscular tissue around the face, as well as the skeletal bone. When the jaw muscle contracts, it applies a huge amount of pressure on the bone and helps keep your mouth closed at rest when not eating or speaking, which moves it into position. It also helps move your tongue into the correct position against the roof of your mouth, which in turn also helps move your bone upwards and forwards, as well as expanding your maxilla. So a conscious effort should be made to keep your mouth closed and place your tongue against the roof of your mouth at all times you're not eating or talking. This is also known as mewing. Now, just the act of putting a piece of stronger gum into my mouth and chewing on it consciously and placing my tongue against the roof of my mouth had a compounding effect in making me want to do even more improvements on myself. And the next thing after that, changing my life in terms of looks, how socially capable I am with other people, and motivation towards achieving life goals. After just 14 days of chewing, my life was put on a completely different path. Now, why are they trying to hide this information so it doesn't become mainstream knowledge? We need to take a look back in time. In 1966, John Mew came up with a theory that misaligned jaws and facial collapse are not the result of genetics, but instead are the result of lifestyles. Now, the Orthodontic Society hated this, because according to John Mew's theory of mewing, if you strengthen the jaw muscles and have good tongue posture from a young age, your teeth will never become crooked in the first place. Therefore, orthodontists would not even need to exist at all. In addition to this, braces push your teeth backwards, causing damage to your facial structure. The whole dental society did not like John Mew's discovery of this, so they tried to cast him aside and ignore his ideas, so much so that they are now trying to sue his son, Dr. Mike Mew, for teaching his ideas to people around the world.
So it's a narrative you've bought into. And of course, as soon as someone starts questioning the narrative, remember, you've gained all this training, you spent years in training, you've got a business that's predicated upon your belief system, and to admit that you're wrong, and of course, look at the side effects, which suggestion is that orthodontics can at times cause a downswing in facial form. It can be retractive, and that could lead to a reduced life expectancy, a reduced intelligence, and your face looking worse.
Yeah.
Now, if you've done an elective procedure, you've not warned people of these risks. And these aren't new risks. My father was warning of at least the facial implications in the last millennia, actually. It's the implications of that is it's just not good. You don't want to be an orthodontist faced with, not only is what you're doing possibly not right, but you may have been messing people up. You don't want to admit that.
There's also huge invested interests in plastic surgery. Plastic surgeons make the most money out of any other type of doctor. The money is huge. And Big Pharma needs to keep selling you those drugs for your health problems, as well as your mental health problems. If everyone had healthy facial structure, Big Pharma, orthodontics, and plastic surgery would suffer immensely. And that's just a fact. The people with the money are mostly the ones who control the information in the field, which is why this information has been hidden from people. And people's facial attractiveness and health will continue to suffer as a result.
I've never had any form of meaningful scientific engagement with any orthodontist ever. They start a conversation and then they disappear. I mean, I'll give you an example of the classic situation. Classic situation is I'm at the British Orthodontic Conference or another similar conference. I'm at the trade display because this is where you've got these big areas with, it's like any trade display in the world. You've got all these booths set up. I'm walking along. Some orthodontist sees me, and he thinks, "Here's the devil. It's my turn. Here's my chance to tell the devil a lesson and tell him to stop being such a killjoy and messing everything up." So he walks over to me and launches into quite an aggressive debate with me. And I just, clearly I've been taught how to do management with patients. So I do a cushioning. I go, "Yeah, really sorry to hear you have those views. I really wish we could discuss something." And of course, this guy is all open for discussion because, he realizes that this is his chance to prove me wrong. And I say, well, what really interests me, when we need to stand back, I really want to start with the cause. Why is this problem occurring? Because medicine's about treating the cause of the problem. And of course, you get this sort of nod from the guy and he goes, "Well, that sounds sensible. Yes, I think." And I go, "Well, and that's why I've been trying to raise a debate on it. And of course, none of our ancestors had teeth, and all the hard scientific facts suggest that malocclusion is due to the environment. And, I want to gain a debate on this, and this is what I've been trying to encourage." And as I progress, the penny drops that, clearly I'm talking a really good scientific argument. I'm doing it really evidence based and I'm really structuring this conversation well. And this person looks at me and goes, "You're impossible to talk to,"
Yeah,
and walks off.
yeah, I can imagine. Throughout my life, I always had some degree of facial collapse, which is why I researched until I came across Dr. Mike Mew. His videos taught me that by mewing and strengthening your jaw muscles, your face will grow into the right direction and correct over time. I started chewing, I think it was at first like 2 to 3 hours a day, but I don't recommend people do that. It was overkill. You should follow instructions in the link below. But I was able to grow my jaw muscles, expand my maxilla, and get millimeters of forward growth, which made a huge difference to the appearance of my face. Many people have followed suit and improved their faces as well, which is why it's important to get this information out there, spread the word so that people know about this. Science is an evolving field that changes all the time. Nobody is the know-all of everything, not even doctors. So you need to stay ahead of the game before everyone else does it. And most importantly, before it's too late for you.